How did it all come to this? Heading into the crossover match between India and New Zealand at the Kalinga Stadium in Bhubaneswar, the odds were heavily stacked against New Zealand. New Zealand had conceded more goals. They had lost to opponents like Malaysia and the Netherlands, and they only got through after a win against Chile. India, on the other hand, were undefeated. They had managed to beat Spain and Wales, and they were ranked much higher than New Zealand. Yet, on that day, billion hearts were broken. New Zealand put out their A game and they managed to beat India. The Hockey World Cup. It continued the frustration that India had with the Hockey World Cup. And now their wait for the title extends to 50 plus years now. Because now, after 3 years or potentially after 4 years, you are going to see the Hockey World Cup yet again. And it will be 50 years since that time that India last won the Hockey World Cup. Before I get to the key factors as to what was responsible for India's loss, I will give you a very, very sorry tale of India that have hosted the World Cup 4 times, yet home comfort has not worked in their favor. So before I touch upon that, I will tell you the heartbreaking story of the match. India lost to New Zealand in sudden death penalty shootout 4-5. They were leading 3-1 until the third quarter. 1 minute to go before the end of the third quarter, New Zealand got a goal, and in the fourth quarter, they got one more goal. So India bottled a 3-1 lead and they conceded 2 more goals, 3-3 at full time, and that was when it was taken to penalties. Even there, it was 3-all. India managed to equalize at the very last moment. Then in sudden death, New Zealand managed to win it. Kalinga Stadium emptied out after a couple of minutes and the Indian players were left to contemplate what could have been. But as I was saying, home comfort should actually help the Indian hockey team, right? No. In the case of this sport, India has never found it easy in the Hockey World Cup whenever it has been hosted in India. 1982 Bombay, their best finish was 5th. 2010 New Delhi, they finished 8th. Bhubaneswar in 2018 was their best finish with 6th when they lost to Netherlands 1-2 in the quarterfinal. Now, in 2022, they were knocked out in the pre-quarterfinal, and now, depending upon the result, they will have to play the 9th to 16th position classification. 2 games. If they lose that, they will then play the 11th and 12th position. It is a very, very sorry state for the Indian hockey team at this point in time. Because for this generation of hockey players, perhaps a dream has ended. So what were the main factors? There are 4 essentially. Penalty corner conversion rate. Prior to the tournament in the FIH Pro League, as well as if you had looked at it in the Commonwealth Games, as well as in the Asiad, India were consistently performing because they at least had a 1:4 ratio when it came to penalty corner conversion. Here it was a nightmare. Harmanpreet Singh form. The key factor in India losing in this Hockey World Cup was the lack of form that their skipper Harmanpreet Singh showed. No backup penalty corner specialist. If Harmanpreet Singh failed, who could have come? Amit Rohidas, Jugraj Singh, all expert drag flickers, but experience-wise, they really lacked. Hardik Singh injury. At a very crucial time, India lost their best attacker, and that is why India were left handicapped. And mental pressure of the penalty shootout. Why? Penalty corner was 26 penalties, only 5 converted. That is the prime and key factor on which India's Hockey World Cup campaign was decimated. Just India's ratio was 1:6. 19% only they converted their penalty chances. Compare this to Belgium. Compare this with Australia. It is 1:3 or 1:4. That means for 30 penalty corners taken, they convert 10. 1:3 is ideal. 1:2 is supreme. Just ask the Kookaburras, who are expert penalty corner specialists. No backup for Harmanpreet Singh in drag flicking. As I had mentioned, Amit Rohidas, Jugraj Singh, they were all good. Varun Kumar was also good. But experience on the bigger stage. So when Harmanpreet Singh failed, they had no plan B. And that was the major reason why India struggled in that last quarter against New Zealand. Penalty shootout are India's worst nightmare. Indeed, if you have to look at it prior to that, in the Sultan Azlan Shah tournaments against Australia, India always botched up in the penalty corners. And that is why now a penalty shootout as well. Now that is also one of the worst nightmares. Azlan Shah was a prelude. 2018, Asiad. India versus Malaysia. India could have easily beaten Malaysia, but they lost 6-7 in sudden death penalty shootout. And that led them to their exit. No backup for Harmanpreet, as I had mentioned. So that is the main problem. With Harmanpreet Singh not performing, India were left with plenty to do. And penalty shootouts anyway, it is a major lottery. Some work in your favor, some don't. Especially in the sudden death, Harmanpreet Singh's penalty shootout miss was a huge disappointment. Injury. Hardik Singh. After a good performance against Spain, his hamstring injury unfortunately came at a very wrong time. With Hardik Singh missing, India missed an attacking option and there was no pressure maintained. Even in the midfield and even when you look at it in the attacking front. What was the key factor for India when it came to the playoff in the league stages? India's defense stood up and they also managed to ensure that the midfield was also attacking. Spain game was a classic example. England, their dour defense ensured India couldn't score much goals. But with Hardik Singh's injury, that option also went out of the window. Next for India now, Graham Reid, the coach, was absolutely shell-shocked. He couldn't point out a single factor what was responsible. He didn't mention penalty shootouts and penalty corners. Graham Reid said the next best thing is to get a mental conditioning coach. Because in high pressure situations, India seemed to short circuit themselves. Asiad and now the World Cup. And remember, there was a precursor to this. When the final seconds were about to be drawn in the FIH Pro League encounters against the Netherlands and Belgium, India botched it up royally. And India would have been eliminated even before the penalty shootout had Krishan Pathak not gotten the save in. Krishan Pathak's save was crucial that India managed to take it to the penalty shootout. So, next two games in the World Cup will be the focus and the bilateral test series against the Kookaburras. If you are already hurt, you are going to get hurt even further because the Kookaburras are in prime form and their World Cup now will depend in the quarterfinal match against Spain. Belgium take on New Zealand. But for India, they now take on Asiad champions Japan because the 9 to 16 place qualifications now will depend a lot on where India finish. Remember, the World Cup and the Asian Games are real important tournaments for India to secure qualification for Paris 2024. Asian Games now will be the next big thing for Indian hockey, but now the future really looks very dull and there is plenty of hurt. It will take a lot of time to digest this. Thank you so much folks for listening to this special video. We'll be back with more updates on sports today. Press the like, comment and share button. We are also there on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram also. Thank you.